I've known for a long time that management is a big weakness of mine. You can fake your way to $1 million. I think the reason most people struggle from 0 to $1 million is they pick two small businesses and they don't know how to pick something that's a big enough TAM, total addressable market. So hire the people who can fill in the gaps. I think college is a waste for most professions. I like the chaos. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I genuinely enjoy it. I went through those phases and I would buy the watches, fancy clothes, nice cars and drivers. And then after a while, I just stopped caring.
He's a digital marketer, a New York Times bestselling author, an entrepreneur, and an investor. Forbes says he's one of the top 10 marketers. He was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama. And the Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Neil Patel.
Neil, welcome and thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about your story mostly, and in that context, basically how you managed to build a very successful company, starting from 0 to now 9 figures, which is something that very few people can claim. But also like your mindset and the way you look at it, and also kind of how you use those resources, what excites you about entrepreneurship. So yeah, thanks for being here and let's get to it. Did you do this with this company that you hired a CEO right away? Was it kind of lesson learned, or is it the same thing with all the businesses that you have done before?
I've never actually been the CEO of any of my companies. I've known for a long time that management is a big weakness of mine. Instead of trying to become a better manager, what I do is I try to focus on my skills or my strengths, and then I hire for my weaknesses. So some people believe that you can be a jack of all trades. I'm not saying that's not true. I just find it easier to double down where I'm strong at, and then hire where I'm weak at.
Okay, hiring is also a skill, right? Which is kind of tied to the. So, did you find it as your strength, or did you think, let me hire the person who's gonna do the hiring afterwards for me?
No. We never really went with the route of let me hire the person who'll do the hiring. I've been doing business long enough where I've hired enough of the wrong people. Right. I learned the hard way of how to hire, but we have a very simple model when it comes to hiring. We look for, let's say you're hiring a salesperson for an engineering software company. Okay. We look for someone who's worked for 2 other engineering software companies where they sell education, and it's used to help people learn whatever you're trying to teach them, coding or whatever it may be, or DevOps. And we look for people who work for 2 of our competitors in similar roles and have gotten promoted at both organizations. Because everyone says they're good when you're interviewing them. But if a company promoted them, it usually means the other person felt they were good. If 2 companies promoted that individual, that means it's usually not luck, and there's probably something there. And when you work with those people and they're a cultural fit, there's a good chance they'll do well for you. And that's our model. So my CEO for my ad agency, NP Digital, his name is Mike Gullickson. And Mike started in sales, I believe, at iCrossing, then ended up becoming heading up sales, then became one of the operating executives. And then they sold to Hearst, I believe, for $400 million. Don't quote me on the amount, but something like that. Then later he became the co-CEO of a company called Covario, which was another ad agency / software company, much smaller than iCrossing. He grew it, sold it to Dentsu Aegis, which is a global ad agency. And he worked at a division called iProspect, where I believe he started in operations as the COO. Then he worked his way up and got promoted to the president. So he's worked at multiple companies in our space. 2 of them sold. He got promoted at all of them. So then, usually those people tend to work out.
Okay, so how do you convince those people who are obviously top in what they do? How do you attract them? How do you convince them to come work for you?
You work on getting them over a long period of time. They usually don't come overnight. You build relationships with them and their friends and other people in their network. You offer them more money. And you offer them less bureaucracy.
Okay.
because usually a lot of these people work at larger corporations.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in an offensive way.
Yeah.
Even for me, they work at larger corporations than mine. And people don't like politics.
Yeah.
Most businesses, I don't care if you live in Austria or the United States or United Kingdom, most corporations have bureaucracy and silly politics.
So you offer them freedom as well.
More freedom.
So
Less micromanagement, less reporting, all that stuff.
how did you get Mike specifically?
We hired other people in his network
Okay.
who also worked at similar companies or same companies, got promoted multiple times. We got them on board, and then we worked our way up and tried to tell them, like, hey, introduce this to Mike. We think he would be a good fit. And eventually we were able to convince him
How long did this period take, approximately?
to court him. I don't know, a year plus. Mm-hmm. But if you want to talk about when we started hiring some of his other people in his network, we were a thorn on his side.
Okay.
We were trying to pull some of his good people, and he would tell them not to work for us. Okay? And then eventually we were able to convince him. But you're talking about we were hiring people from his network and poaching them, and he would hate that for years.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then eventually we went after him.
Would you do that for not only C-level people, but also the kind of lower level?
Yeah.
Lower than management? Would you use the same approach there as well?
For entry level, no, because entry level, people usually don't have the experience. But for mid-level executives and a little bit lower than mid-level, we definitely do it as well.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously you are one of the most known faces in the marketing, like digital marketing, SEO field. And you mentioned that you focus on your strength. What do you think is your strength specifically? Like what type of things within the marketing? Because marketing is still a large term.
Sure, I'm good as an individual contributor. I tend to do better as myself as a marketer than working on a big team. My team's small, so it's not that big of an issue. At least the people I work with directly, it's a small team, right? Globally, we have over 1,000 people though. And there's a few things that I would say that individually I do well at. Creating content, scripting, sending emails, SEO, AI SEO, conversion optimization, creating ad copy, helping tweak the ad campaigns. I like going in and doing the tweaks myself. Coming up with creative ideas to generate more leads, like releasing free tools, figuring out new products to release that could create a bigger top of funnel.
Yeah, but product creation is a very different skill from marketing, right?
Yeah, but my background is software.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
software.
Most of my companies I created are all software companies.
Were you like a product owner role in software or really technical?
Neither. I'm not a developer.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a product manager.
Yeah.
I'm not a project manager either.
Yeah.
I know there's two different things.
Yeah.
But what I'm really good at is using a product and figuring out where the holes are if I use a lot of my competitor products and figuring out where the opportunity is.
Okay.
And I'm really good at working with a product manager to shape what I want and tell them what to change, whether it's usability or copy or features, discussing how most people don't need a lot of these features and they won't use it, making things simpler, to even the engineers, working with them to figure out how to get an MVP out quicker and stripping things down, or teaching them how to use other similar products in the space that may have APIs and that just may get us quicker MVP to get feedback from.
Yeah.
So
basically, because it's very psychological, you understand what the end user wants to see and how they want to navigate, and you actually don't care what's behind the scenes in terms of technology. Like you build it in whatever programming framework you want or whatever AI
whatever the team
stuff
wants.
is, like whatever is behind. Like I don't care.
I don't care if my team wants to use cursor or code it manually. Of course, I prefer them to use AI to help them out be more efficient because speed is everything.
Yeah.
But I've spent probably more time on product than I have on marketing, although most people don't know that.
When did you realize that those were your strength and you should just double down on doing that?
I don't know, maybe like 20 years ago.
Was the point after you learned enough in that space, or was it from the beginning? It was like, I feel like this is easy for me, so I'm gonna kind of follow it, and then you got better at it, so it kind of confirmed.
Neither. It was more so early on I had to do it because I had no choice and we didn't have the money.
Okay.
And then I was pretty decent and then just kept doing it.
How did that happen?
Well, early on we couldn't hire. Remember I broke down how we like hiring?
Yeah.
When you don't raise venture capital and you don't have a ton of cash, you got to figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah. So was it the first business or first company that?
First few companies that were like that.
Mm-hmm. So for all those companies, you basically had to do the marketing and SEO and all this stuff yourself.
It was bootstrapped.
Yeah.
All the.
Not all the companies. We did end up eventually raising venture capital, but the businesses I raised venture capital for never worked out. The businesses I bootstrapped, most of them worked out. Not all, but most worked out.
Yeah. I mean,
a little bit of backwards.
You already selling something, so you know that you have product market fit, probably.
No, it was more so the bootstrap companies. I think the venture capital one would have worked out. We were talking to Microsoft and Facebook to potentially sell. I'm not saying they would have bought the company. And we had a lot of interest and inbound of people wanting to potentially buy that company. But we had a data and privacy lawsuit. We won the government investigation. It's called the FTC here in the US. And they found no wrongdoings. But the legal system in the US is very different than Europe. So but we were also getting sued in a class action lawsuit. Our lawyers felt we could have fought it in court and won, but the fees to fight it and win would have cost $500,000 to $1 million. But on the flip side, a settlement would have cost us, and we settled, I think it was around $55,000. And then because a lot of companies have insurance and the insurance company kicks in some of the settlement, plus legal fees, of course, on top. And that was cheaper for us to do than to try to fight it in court and try to win. So, but that hurt the acquisition chances at that point. But before the lawsuit, that venture funded startup was almost profitable on a monthly basis from only raising $4 million. But I would say the bootstrap companies have done better because A, I just did them longer.
Yeah.
And B, when you don't have other people's money, you tend to think more scrappier and more creative and you have no other choice.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true.
And then when you take money, you get the pressure of like growth at all costs, not from all investors, but some are like that. And we're able to grow at a nice steady click without any pressure. Now we have our own self-inflicted pressure of wanting to grow more, but it's
going into the question because I also want to ask some questions.
Yeah.
What was the reason why you always create new companies instead of focusing on one company and building this out to, I don't know, larger?
You're totally right. I would say that's one of the biggest mistakes I made as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Too much ADD from switching from one idea to the next one. And I haven't done too many businesses. I would say I did 3 sizable businesses. One was called Crazy Egg, which was bootstrapped. One was called Kissmetrics, which we raised venture funding for, and that failed. And the third one is NP Digital, which is my current one.
Okay,
and I've been doing this for 24 years.
Okay,
all right, if you combine all the businesses, I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 sizable ones. I had an ad agency before Crazy Egg that did not work out because I lost a lot of money in the 2008 crash, in which a lot of clients and customers canceled. So we winded that down and focused more on the software, and the software is still around today. Crazy Egg still works today, and it does quite well financially. You know, it's not the biggest company in the world, but it's definitely not small.
But it's also not that much.
It splits off millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? So it does extremely well. And then my current company, NP Digital, I've spent, I think this will be our 8th year. And I don't know how many people we have, but call it 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
Employees, 1,000 employees?
All bootstrapped.
Wow.
So did you spin off multiple companies at the beginning and that was a mistake, or?
No, technically, well, you make actually a good point. The venture funded one, Kissmetrics, was a spin-off of Crazy Egg. we tried raising venture capital for Crazy Egg and they all said no. And they said, this new tech that you're building in Crazy Egg looks really cool. You should spin off as a separate company and we'll fund that. Yeah. That's how that company came about.
What was the learning there for you?
There really wasn't any learning, you know.
Did you?
I don't think that company was primed to succeed, whether we got sued or not. We could have potentially sold, but here's what I mean by that. We didn't adapt to mobile quick enough. At that time, mobile devices were starting to become popular.
Yeah.
We didn't adapt to mobile, and I think that would have been the detriment of that business.
Yeah.
So whether we spun it out or not, I think that the venture funded one would have struggled. Crazy Egg still did well.
Yeah.
If it had that piece in there, maybe we would have had to kill it off.
Yeah.
Right? But we didn't adapt to the mobile market quick enough. That was probably the biggest mistake.
Can we go a little bit back in time?
Yes.
So when growing up, like, did you have any environment where like entrepreneurship was a thing? Like, did you already, were you exposed to it? Or
I did. My mom owned a daycare, and she was an entrepreneur, small business. She did around 110,000 in revenue, not profit. And my mom, to get kids to go for her home daycare in school, she did something that was interesting. She made a flyer, and it was called Tina's Daycare. And she gave it to all her competitors who had schools where they were full and they couldn't take any students. And they said, anytime someone comes, give them my flyer.
Yeah.
She didn't give them an affiliate commission, or she didn't pay him any money. And that helped her generate a lot of business. And people thought she was crazy for doing that, but it worked out.
And was any of that kind of inspiration for you, or like?
It was. My mom and dad both worked hard, but I learned business from my mom, and a lot of the people in my mom's family did well in business.
Okay.
So I learned from them. Now, I don't know how well they did in business. I don't know their financials, but they all tried every different things, from gas stations to motels to self-storage. So
you didn't have this typical, like, I'm gonna go to college and get a job, like this path kind of.
I did go to college, but it didn't help with anything. I think college is a waste for most professions. Like, if you want to be an engineer in today's world, why do you need to go to college? I genuinely.
You can learn everything from YouTube, right?
You can learn it on YouTube. You know, like, if you want to be a doctor, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying college will teach you more to be a doctor. That I don't know, because I'm not into biology and chemistry and all the sciences. But I know you need to go to college to become a doctor, so there's no other option. But on the flip side, Elon Musk has sent rockets into space with an amazing team. He didn't do it all by himself, but self-taught. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
He landed a rocket that went into space and it came down. And who did it before? Aerospace engineering degree did not teach him this. It's self-taught. And the reality is for most professions, you can self-teach yourself quite a bit. And I'll even go to the doctor profession. I've met a lot of doctors for different reasons. Okay, people get sick over time. I met doctors who went to UC Berkeley, Harvard, Stanford, some of the best schools. And sometimes I've worked with doctors who didn't go to some of those schools. Like, I met an eye surgeon, and I would keep getting these styes on my eye, like a little bump. Yeah. Okay? So I went to this doctor, world-renowned. I believe he graduated from Stanford. And I'd keep having problems. And he would do a treatment and it would grow back. And I'm not saying he was good or bad. And then I found this doctor. I was in Vegas one time, and my eye was bothering me, and he went to a local college somewhere in the state of Nevada. It wasn't well known. And he's like, oh, the guy was trying to cut it out. He's like, you just need this injection. It'll solve it. And he did the injection, it solved it. And I'm like, he didn't have as good of a degree. Probably didn't score as high on his medical studies, I'm guessing. And he was better for me. I'm not saying he's better, but for me, he was better and solved my problem. The point I'm getting at is, I don't think a degree or grades makes the person for most professions.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people who didn't go to college who said, I hated school, but I loved learning.
Same, I hated school. I loved learning. I did really well in physics. I had so much fun in there. I did really well in math because I enjoyed it as a subject, like stats, I enjoyed. Algebra, I did not enjoy. I would sleep and not study. But statistics, I loved it and I had so much fun. Economics, loved it, would just soak up everything. History, I understand the value and the importance of history. I didn't do well, I didn't want to read the history textbooks.
So how old were you when you started like the first like entrepreneurial venture, like however small or big that was?
Maybe 14, 15.
14,
I was selling like CDs in my school.
Did you like?
You know, like CDs for like people buying stuff.
I remember. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Looking back, like, was it clear that you were going to be an entrepreneur? Like,
no, I just wanted money. I wanted money. I started to be an entrepreneur for the wrong reasons. I started because I wanted to make money. You make money by solving problems. Yeah, and then you learn you make money by solving problems, not by saying you want to make money.
Yeah. So at 14, you can really get a job, or you know, it's not like
correct. So you try whatever you can.
So like, how do I get money? And you get creative, and that's where the. What did you do with 14?
I sold CDs.
Yeah.
I sold car parts. A lot of people in my high school, they would want like new sound systems for their car parts. So I went to the city and I got this reseller permit from the State Board of Equalization. And I was then going to take it to the stores that they would buy the music parts, stereo equipment, amplifiers, and I would get it for a cheaper price than they would pay. And then I would sell it for a little bit less than the store charge. So then I made money.
So was it like, oh, I made enough money to go out, hang out with friends or buy some cool stuff, and then I'm done working, or?
No, I didn't have a ton of friends in school. I had some friends, but I wasn't popular or anything like that. And then from there, I kept trying to do different businesses. Yeah. I found one where I helped people get more traffic to their website, and I was 16 at the time. And for me, at the time, I didn't care too much about friendships. I should have spent more time building friendships back then. But I was generating like 20,000 a month in revenue, and it was mainly all profit. And I was 16. So that was a lot of money for me back then. Even today, 20,000 a month is still a lot of money.
What did you do with that money at 16?
Put it in a bank account, reinvested it, try to make more money.
What was your motivation? Like, did you have like, oh, I'm gonna buy this thing, or did you just enjoy the actual?
I wanted stuff. I wanted nicer cars, and maybe one day buy a home. And today I don't care about anything. I drive a Honda Odyssey. I don't really care what people think. I was at a hotel the other day called the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills. So I pull up to the valet. I was going to meet someone, and the valet person tells me to move forward. So I move forward, and then the cars are coming behind me. And then I'm sitting there for a few minutes like, what's happening? And then all the cars behind me are gone because the valet takes their cars. And then the guy asked me to roll down my window. He's like, can I help you? And I'm like, I'm here to valet the car. He's like, it's $20-something. I'm like, okay. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to a restaurant. He's like, you know, they don't, it'll still cost you $20-something. Are you okay with it? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I give him my keys. But I'm driving a Honda Odyssey, so then he's just like, and I'm dressed like this because I usually just wear a white t-shirt. I'm wearing a jacket right now to be somewhat presentable. But I'm wearing like yoga pants and a white t-shirt, and that's how I wear a dress. And driving a Honda Odyssey, no one cares. And, you know, don't care for jewelry or anything.
No Rolex inside and stuff.
Well, when I was younger, I cared for that stuff.
How did it change? Because by the way, I find it refreshing that you were saying, because I started business because of the same reason. I was like, I want to be a millionaire.
Yeah. I would say what changed is I went through those phases, and I would buy the watches, and I still have them, some of them at least. I bought the fancy clothes. I had nice cars and drivers and stuff like that. And then after a while, I just stopped caring. I stopped caring what other people think or thought. I didn't care if people thought I lived in a nice neighborhood or I had a nice home. I just stopped caring. Also, I think what's also changed a lot is having kids. Because you get so busy dealing with children and their lives that you don't have space for any other time. Yeah, and it's just like, you just don't care anymore.
How about your friend circle?
Most of my friends are successful entrepreneurs.
Are they also low-key like you?
Most of them are. And that's what's interesting is, I think as we get older and most of us had families, we stop caring about what people think.
So, because I was thinking,
and sorry to cut you off, but a lot of my friends never cared in the first place, right? It was just more so I cared early on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to dress for success. Gives a crap.
But that's what I was thinking, because your circle influences what you want, I think, right? So if you had a lot of friends who were just, wear Rolex and stuff like this, kind of, naturally influences.
Yeah, but you I don't think that's what influence. It was more so I wanted to feel successful. I cared what people thought. Yeah. But look, Jeff is a close friend, right? He brought you guys to see me. Jeff has made good money from Everbowl. It's a successful company.
Yeah.
He also helps build these franchises. He has a construction company. He's done some other stuff that I won't talk about, but I know about, where he's made really, really good money. And Jeff is humble.
Yeah.
Jeff has never dressed nice. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
Hoodies, sneakers, gym clothes. Yeah. He's never dressed nice. I'm being very transparent here. I'm not trying to talk trash on Jeff. I love him to death as a friend. He's never really dressed nice. That's never been him. He's never cared.
Yeah.
Jeff never went through the phase I went through where he's like, I want a fancy watch or a car. Like, when I got to know him, he always had I think it's usually like a Kia or something like that. Good car. And they last long. But the point I'm getting at is some people don't go through those phases. Jeff is much wiser than me and didn't have to go through that learning phase. Now, luckily, I didn't burn a lot of money doing it, but still I did. I don't know how much I wasted, but it hasn't been millions of dollars on silly stuff that I regret.
Yeah. What are some of the examples of things that you regret? Would you have rather invested it in something else?
I've rather invested it, donated it, anything.
Okay, yeah.
It's just I pretty much flushed money down. Watches I never needed, clothes I never needed. What else did I waste money on? Watches, clothes. Homes that were expensive that I don't need, I still have that problem. I could downsize and get a smaller home, but I also work from home and I don't have an office that I go to. So I like my home to be comfortable.
Yeah.
So that is the one area where I probably don't care what I spend. Cars were definitely a waste of money. Mm-hmm. Anything flashy. Private aviation, I used to fly private so much, it was rotting my kids. They don't need that. Then my kids are going to grow up being entitled. I don't want that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong if someone wants to take their kids on a private plane, but that's just not me. Because I learned the hard way that my kids were, like my daughter, one time we were coming back from Hawaii on a G650ER. So I don't know how expensive the plane is. Let's go with the $60 million plane. It wasn't mine. I was chartering it. And no joke, my daughter points out the window, like, Daddy, next time, I want to go on that plane. She's pointing to like a commercial airline, right? Not knowing that she has to stand in line at the airport and all that kind of stuff. And then my wife's like, oh, we're never doing this again. And keep in mind, at that point, we've been doing it for years. But my daughter requested more. She's like, I want more place for my toys. And it was like, and my wife grew up on a farm, working, normal, working class. And I grew up with my mom being a teacher. She owned a home daycare, but before she was a teacher, and my dad working at a bank, not an executive position, but like at a bank doing paperwork.
Like the counter,
Not the counter, but like back office doing paperwork for like loans, like someone wanting a mortgage, right? And my parents never made a lot of money, and I grew up normal. And I'm not saying my kid should grow up the way I did. I just didn't want him to be entitled, being like, we want a bigger plane, we want a bigger house. And we're just like, the house is nice. We didn't want to sacrifice our life that much, but like everything, right? We just didn't want it where our children grew up entitled. We want them to understand that you guys are privileged. The world doesn't work this way. You should work for anything you want. And if you don't want to work, that's your problem. My job as a parent is to provide you amazing education and provide you with good values and morals and ethics. And then the rest is for you to figure out. I'll guide you if you're struggling. If you're on the street homeless, of course I'm going to help you out. But I'm not here to buy you a home. I'm not here to pay for your vacation or pay for your car. If you're a kid and you're going to go to school and you need a car, sure, no problem. You can use my Honda Odyssey, right? It could be 10, 15 years old at that point, works fine, no problem, use it.
Yeah.
You know, but
because I think it's difficult as a parent to balance, because you love your kid and you kind of want to give them everything, but on the other side,
it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Because when you see how they start turning out when you give them all this stuff.
You're like, I don't want that result.
Yeah, and then they become entitled, then you got to deal with them at home and they're a pain in the butt to deal with. This is like, no, we're going to change this right away.
Because what I observed from the kids who were spoiled, who kind of had everything, they don't have that same fulfillment that you get from making it for the first time, or kind of hustling your way through it, or kind of figuring out. They don't have that drive that then ultimately gives them fulfillment, that they achieved something on their own. So
it depends. I've seen the kids who have it, who have grown up rich, and they grow up to be very normal. Like I have a friend, a good friend, I won't mention his name, but his company does more than $1 billion a year in profit, not revenue, and profit. He's not on the Forbes list. He's very under the radar. No investors in his company. The company is, I don't know how many years old. Let's go with 40 to 50 years old, somewhere in that range. I'm pretty sure, because I know it's older than me, but it's not too much older. Literally $1 billion a year in profit, employs, thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of people. And he has 3 kids. One of his kids, they all grew up the same. And he's had money for a long time. His kids are younger than me. One of his kids only wants to go on private planes and stuff like that and refuses to. They don't own one, but they'll charter. The parents are very normal. My friends are the parents, right? And they may like jewelry and a few things like that. But one of the kids, his son, drives a really old car, like an old Toyota or Honda, doesn't care for a nice one. Buys clothes from Costco, which is a great store to buy stuff from. Wants everything on a sale. If he flies from like here to Austria, he'll fly in economy and doesn't want to pay the money for first class or business. The parents would give him the money. He refuses to pay for it. Here's what's interesting though. He doesn't have drive to run the family business or to grow it or make more money. He doesn't care for money. He'd rather spend his time volunteering and helping others with no money, which is a very noble cause and good for him. One of the kids likes only private planes and fancy homes and Rolls Royces and stuff. That's a daughter. And then the other daughter, I believe, wants to be a pediatrician. I could be wrong, or is a pediatrician, and just wants to help kids, and has a normal house, a few million bucks. In some cities, you can't even buy a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom apartment for, she has a family. Parents helped her with the money for that. They paid for the education. But she doesn't care to blow the money or to wear a Rolex or anything like that. Like
a luxury lifestyle.
So 2 of the kids grew up really normal. One of the kids wants all the fancy stuff in the world, and the parents do spoil her, and they know it. She also married someone who's also really rich, so there's money on both sides. But none of the kids are motivated to make money because they grew up with it. I've also had friends who spoiled their kids. They grew up very normal, went to good colleges, and worked really hard to make more money from the family's money. I've also had friends who are really rich, and I don't consider myself really rich in this context. These guys all make way more money than me. I'm not making $1 billion a year in profit, right? I'm not even doing $1 billion in revenue. And these people, I've had some where their kids are really ambitious and trying to do well, and I've also had some where their kids are spoiled. I've seen all rounds of it. And I've also had friends who don't give their kids much, and they're not entitled, but they're still lazy and they don't do anything. So I've seen all aspects of it, and I'm not saying giving your kids stuff makes them entitled or not. You really don't know, and I think each kid is different. Because like when I asked my buddy, he has 3 kids, how'd you raise them different? He's like, we didn't raise them different at all. We raised them the same way.
So it's the personality of the people themselves.
Even though they had the money, they still cut coupons when they're going grocery shopping, and their kids didn't know they had a ton of money. Right? Like the parents didn't have fancy homes. So it's just like, what changed? Now that the kids are older, the parents have fancy homes, like some homes on the water, some in the mountain, because they want to see grandkids and they want to encourage them. And they're like, well, we're getting closer to retiring and dying. And they're just like, we want to enjoy some of the money. But they've donated way more than they've ever spent on themselves. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I personally think it's a good thing. But to each their own. People should do whatever makes them happy in life. But what I've learned from all of this is there's no right way or wrong way to raise your children. And I've seen bad kids and when parents try to do everything right. And I've seen good kids when a lot of parents do a lot of things wrong. Like, I think a lot of it's just luck, just being honest.
So where is your fulfillment come from? Like what gets you excited and gets you out of bed in the morning?
Me is just growing a business. I love growing a business. I think business is the best sport ever. And if I look at business, I look at let's look at football, because everyone knows football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, right? In the States, we call it soccer. But you look at like the champion leagues, right? Where the best teams are playing, right? I would say that's like the Elon Musk, the Mark Zuckerberg, etc. Then you have one league below. I don't know what it's called. I don't watch the sport. Maybe a Premier League or something. I don't know what they're called. I think we're one level below the Premier League or whatever. I think we're on the third level and we're just trying to work our way up. And the way I look at it as like the best level is like the Elon Musks of the world, where some of these guys have, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars, $1 trillion companies. I think the mid-level is, you know, people like I'm talking about that are generating billions in revenue or $1 billion plus. And I'm at the next level where you're generating over $100 million, but you're not generating $1 billion in revenue. So I'm trying to work my way up. I'm not competing as talented entrepreneurs as the Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, but I'm having fun doing it and I'm just continually trying to grow.
Do you have an urgency to get to the next level, or are you enjoying most of the
No,
the
I want to get to the next level at the same time, but I am enjoying the journey, but I still want to get to the next level.
What is the most enjoyable component of, like, because it also comes with a lot of pressure and responsibility, I can imagine. So what are the enjoyable and non-enjoyable parts of it?
So all of it's enjoyable. The ups and downs is what makes it exciting and great. If everything just kept going well, it becomes boring. Okay? I like the chaos. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I genuinely enjoy it. So when we're struggling or the economy's bad, I genuinely enjoy it. And not enjoy it where I want to struggle, but I enjoy trying to problem solve and fix it and come ahead. And it's very hard to do, but I thrive in that environment.
Do you have a recent example of something kind of going crazy and you were like, oh, there's a challenge for me to solve?
So in mid-2022, the US government increased the Fed borrowing or the Fed fund rate, I think, to like 5 and change, 5 plus, or 4, I think 4.5% in mid-2022 by the end of 2022. It was a big increase. And then 2023, I think they increased it another percent. And then 2024, they dropped it 1%. 2025, they're starting to reduce rates, or they're going to soon. And I knew that the economy was going to get tougher the moment the Fed hiked the rate to 4+%. It naturally does. They're trying to create unemployment and reduce inflation, reduce spending, etc. So at that point, I was like, my business is going to hurt from this. So one thing that we did is we expanded more product lines, more services, because when you expand and you add more, you have more ways to collect revenue. But then you got to invest a lot, and that's a very expensive investment. So we spent millions of dollars investing, like millions and millions and millions, like a lot of money investing for many years into new divisions, new products, new services that cost us a lot of money. And I knew it was going to be painful. And it made the last 2-3 years even more painful because the economy was bad and I was spending more money than ever to try to create a better business. And we did acquisitions. During that time, we started acquiring other competitors. So we were investing, buying companies, hiring people, all while the economy was worse and it was harder to close new business and retain business.
Yeah.
And we did that because I'm like, in the long run, that'll be the best bet for the business and it'll help us come out ahead, but this will be painful. And that's what we decided to do.
Okay. So back to when you first, to kind of fill that gap. So you had your first breakthrough at some point, right? For me, I remember that first milestone of it. Like it was, of course, like I was happy about, reaching that 7-figure milestone, but it was more of a relief than, oh, I did it. Was it similar to you? Like what was that experience like?
I never had the relief. It was more so, what's next? How can I do more? I never felt like, I personally never feel like I accomplish anything. I always want more and more. I never look in the mirror and be like, wow, I did a good job, or oh, what I built is amazing. I always look at it from a lens, and this is a bad thing as well. I hope my kids don't look at life this way. I always look at the lens from, there's always a bigger competitor. I could always be doing better.
Do you remember what the moment was for you when you hit that first milestone? How old were you?
Which milestone?
When you basically just noticed, okay, I'm trying to build businesses or become an entrepreneur, and you saw that you had the product market fit and it kind of took off.
For me, it wasn't really never a milestone. It was more so gradually over time.
Okay.
You look back and you're like, oh, things are actually done decently well.
Yeah.
But in that moment, my personality is always wanting more, at least from a business standpoint. Yeah. I'm never that personality is like, I want to be the buffest guy. I need to lift more weights in the gym. I'm not competitive in everything. Like if I play basketball against someone, I don't have to win. But in business, for some weird reason, I have to try to win, and I will die trying.
Okay. So what do you think is the biggest bottleneck or the thing that's stopping your business now from reaching that next level?
Just time. I think we're doing all the right stuff that's from an execution standpoint. I think we just need more time. I think we need 2 to 5 more years.
So everything is in place, so to say, and it's just about...
Things could always be better, but a lot of stuff is in place. We just need 2 to 5 more years.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned that it's much easier to go from 0 to million than from million to 10.
Yeah, you're a prime example of this.
Yeah.
I think the reason most people struggle from 0 to million is they pick 2 small businesses and they don't know how to pick something that's a big enough TAM, total addressable market. Million to 10 is difficult because you can fake your way to $1 million. What I mean by this is you don't have to have the best product. You can be good at sales, or you can be good at marketing. You can be good at one thing and get it. Yeah. And you may have a lot of churn, but you can still keep adding more customers, or you can keep selling even if you had churn. Or you could be good at retention, but not be as good at sales. Yeah. So you slowly get there, but you're getting it because you're retaining your customers. Yeah. Getting to 1 to 10, you need really good people. You need systems. You need processes. You need other people who understand how to do stuff better than you in different areas where you're weak. 10 to 100 is even harder in my opinion, but I believe 100 to $1 billion is easier because once you reach scale, you have money to go and buy other businesses, and you can use M&A to try to buy your growth. That's harder to do if you're from 1 to 10, and it's somewhat doable from 10 to 100, but not that doable, right? If you have private equity money or a venture capital, sure, it's easier to get to 10 to 100 because you have someone else's money. But if you're bootstrapped like you and I have been, you don't have access to as much capital. Yeah. So you got to get creative. You got to build a good product, a good team, good systems and processes, because you don't have the capital to just go and buy your way up there. Yeah. And 100 to $1 billion, even if you're self-funded, you have access to capital. Banks are much more flexible to lend to you. Yeah.
So let's say, considering you have at least some form of systems, like from that 1 to 10 million phase, because you have not been the CEO of the company itself, what do you think that a typical entrepreneur who maybe has just one skill, which was either sales or the product, and kind of brute force their way to $1 million, what do you think their main focus should be in that range to get to the next level? Or Is there?
Yeah, you hire the person that solves your weaknesses. Yeah. So if you can force your way because you're good at sales, hire someone who's good at marketing, or hire someone who's good at product and retention, right? So hire the people who can fill in the gaps.
Yeah. Okay, and at the beginning we talked about us investing most of the money in the properties
and real estate, which I told you I think is a mistake, because real estate is a great way to preserve wealth. Yeah. It's not meant for wealth generation unless you're okay with slow and steady. If you look at most of the richest people in the world, it doesn't come from real estate. Real estate is an amazing way to build a long-term wealth and preserve wealth.
Yeah.
It's not a great way to start generating 20, 30, 40% returns consistently every single year.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying business is an easy way to do that, but when you're starting from a small base, like $1 million in revenue, you can double, triple, quadruple your net worth and your business in the next 12 months. Real estate is hard to double, triple, quadruple.
Yeah.
Yeah, our goal was actually to build like this, like non-risky, have some, like building a long-term wealth. We know it wouldn't increase that much, but have this, how's the first step?
Like a safety net.
So we thought, okay, if we have, for example, we now have 9 or 10 properties, and now it's like, I need a safety feeling, I'm not that risky.
But I understand it's a defensive mode rather than offensive.
Very defensive mode from us.
And you said you would literally invest like every dollar back into the business.
Even the dollars I didn't have.
Yeah. How much did you invest in like networks or workshops or learning from other people,
Investing from other people, I learned a lot. Not necessarily paying for it, but networking, like as in going to conferences and meeting other people, local meetups. Most of the stuff doesn't need to cost money. You can get so much from YouTube. And just hit people up online. But
how did network? Because there is a difference between, like, for example, the first 4 years we were literally sitting in our home office and just hustling, putting out the content, creating the product. So I didn't feel any need for meeting other people because we knew kind of what to do.
And you don't need to get to $1 million, even in profit. You don't need to. I think networking is important when you're trying to get something to 100+ million. I know a lot of people have built $10+ million businesses each year without networking or doing any of this.
Why do you think, what is the impact that networking has on you? Like, what do you exactly get out of it?
Knowledge, relationships, friendships, revenue,
So would you like, would you say like a partnership, like you partner with someone, you learn something that you didn't even know that you didn't know, access to money, like which one do you think is like the most valuable thing about having a network of?
Knowledge. Second would be access to money.
Okay. So what is the most I would say impactful thing that you learned back then before your company became so big from the network?
Network takes a long time to just develop. You have to be patient. You can't monetize it overnight and help other people and don't try to make anything in return, and it just happens.
This is a good point. Long-term thinking. So instead of, I'm gonna make friends.
I've helped Jeff for years, and he's helped me, and we never try to ask anything in return from each other.
Which is a really good.
Never looked at him as a paycheck, and he never looked at me as a paycheck.
So that's good because you're not trying to get to know people transactionally. You are actually trying to make friends or to make like personal relationships. All right, so just a wrap-up question. The last one I want to ask you is, we actually didn't dive into any marketing topics because I wanted to hear your story. So majority of the people are obviously in the first range, right? We talked about like 0 to million. So what would you say if someone is really motivated, they know they have that in them, so they don't need to be convinced to do that? What would you advise them from the marketing and sales skills point of view? What should they be focusing on, considering the current?
Sure. So I'm going to go with marketing instead of sales because I'm better at marketing than sales. Right now, people are using these LLMs to decide what product and service to buy. And they're influencing purchases higher than anything we've ever seen from any marketing channel. Traditional SEO is very similar to how you rank on these AI platforms with AI SEO, or it's almost the same thing or pretty much close enough. There's some slight nuances, but they're very, very similar. that's what I would focus on. And I have a lot of YouTube videos that teach you how to do this for free.
Yeah.
But a lot of traditional SEO is how you're going to rank higher.
Yeah, which, by the way, we're going to link below because I wanted to kind of, package your story because, if someone wants to learn about marketing and SEO, or now the AI context on top of that, they can obviously watch your videos and learn from that, which I believe that knowledge alone could get someone from 0 to 1 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.